Hi guys, my name is Vishwarup, and in this podcast we have a very special guest. She is doing her masters in information management systems, and her name is Akshaya. Thanks a lot, Akshaya, for coming in this podcast and tell us about yourself and let us start podcast.
Thank you. Not sure if I'm a special guest, but very thanks for your sweet welcome. So, my name
Great.
is Akshaya, and I'm based in San Diego, and I'm doing my master's in San Diego State University in information systems and management information systems. So I'm already 3 semesters done, and I still have 2 more semesters to graduate. Apart from this, I'm also working as a business analyst at Upwork, a company based here in San Francisco. So yeah, I work there as a business analyst, and I started just this January. So I'm also so right now I have a summer break, but eventually in August the semester will resume. So I'm also a master's student, and I'm also working as a business analyst.
Wow, multitasking. Yes.
Yeah.
So while you chose your university, what were the factors that you went for?
Yeah, for me, selecting the university was very easy because I live, since I'm on H4 visa, I live here with my family. And we are based here in San Diego. So I was looking for all the university in and around San Diego. And San Diego State University was very best option for me, fees wise and distance wise, the location wise, etc. So the decision was very easy. That's why I chose San Diego State University.
Wow, that's great. And the location, California, is really very good.
Yeah.
Yes. So now let us move on to next question. So, do you have to give the GRE and TOEFL just like others, those who apply for masters after doing BTech from India to USA?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I had all those same procedures. I had to write GRE, TOEFL, and had to send in transcripts from my bachelor's university, etc. Except that I was not an F1 visa, but I had to go through all those procedures. Yeah.
Wow. And can you tell us about your score, GRE scores and TOEFL scores?
I don't remember very vividly, but my GRE score was, I think, 313.
Oh, it's very
And
good.
my was okay. I could have done better. GRE score was 313, and mm, I don't remember my TOEFL score, but I remember that I did well in TOEFL compared to my GRE, but I don't exactly remember my TOEFL score.
Oh, wow. So now let us moving on to next question. Do you have to do any type of other things which an F1 student who is going from India to US have to do, like any other type of visa stamping or other types of things? Or it's just a normal
No,
process. You just apply for the university and you get admitted.
yeah, yeah. Just apply for the university. So when once I'm in H4 visa for a couple years, I think every state has in-state tuition fee and international tuition fee.
Okay.
So if you're an H4 visa on an H4 visa and so I'm in California. So if I
Yes.
lived in California for over a year and I have some California identity proof that I'm living here, etc., then I'll be considered as a California resident. So
Okay.
I don't have to go through any additional visa stuff or etc. Just have to be here in the country and apply. It's a very normal application procedure, like how any other local person would do. And despite another additional advantage I have is I get the California tuition fee. I won't be paying international tuition fee.
Wow. Then
Yeah,
can you tell us
very
about
easy.
course cost? Means what is the approximate cost of the whole?
For an in student or
Yeah. Yes.
in-state
Yes. For
tuition.
yes.
Yeah, for in-state tuition, it is very less. Not very less, but there's a good discount, I would say. So I think for if the total cost, if you consider for an international student and an in-state tuition, there will
Uh-huh.
be a minimum difference of $10,000.
Wow, it's huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it
Wow.
is.
That's, and you told that
Yeah.
you have two more semesters left, right? So, and you have done
Mm-hmm.
3 semesters earlier. So,
Yes.
what
Yeah.
is the course length? I mean, I have seen that
The
you achieve five
yeah,
semesters in that. Yeah.
yeah. So the master's course here for an information system and SDSU alone is unusually large. I mean, more courses than other universities. So usually, I
Okay.
think they have 10 courses. But here in SDSU, we have 13 courses. We have three additional courses, the three prereqs we have to do. So there are 13 courses. But since I'm working and studying, I'm taking my courses very slowly. So that's why I'm taking 5 semesters. But
Okay.
otherwise, students who come in F1 student or who are just studying, they only take 4 semesters to graduate. I'm taking one additional semester because I also have to manage work. But otherwise, here it's 13 courses. It's 3 courses more than other universities.
Okay. Now let us coming us to the course structure, as you told that.
Mhm.
Can you tell us about your course structure? Means how many core courses, how many electives, what is the total credits?
Yeah, sure. So there are 13 courses, as I mentioned, and each course is
Yeah.
three units. Yeah, so totally you have to finish 39 units.
Okay.
So we have three prereqs. These three prereqs are very generic. They are not related to your information system major. So all these prereqs, one is related to marketing, one is finance and accounting, and the other one is supply chain management. So these are very generic because as an information system major student, as an analyst, you can work with any of these data. So they ask you to complete these three course of prereqs, and then other than that, these three prereqs, there is a uh, career there is a technical courses or the major course,
Yeah.
which consists of 18 units or 6 courses.
Six
And
courses.
these 6 courses could, yeah, these 6 courses could be based on your career track. Whatever, this could be of your interest. You could choose marketing and emphasize on marketing analysis courses, etc. Or you can choose system analyst or system engineering like courses like information security,
Yeah.
networking, those kind of courses, or business analyst courses like R, SQL, Python, etc. And then apart from this, we also have a career track of 3 units. That career track will be your major. And for this career track, either you can choose courses from within your department, or you can choose courses from other departments like CS department or linguistics or business, big data analytics. So you can choose courses from any of those departments. It could be a machine learning course or Python course, whatever your interest is. And then there is a culminating experience of 3 units. So the culminating experience, usually people do a course called directed readings. So here you will do a final project, but it will comprise of all the technologies that you've used. Like say if I'm doing a directed readings, then my project will have every language like R, Python, SQL, etc.
Mhm.
And in the exam for the directed readings, you will be tested in all these languages or whatever you studied in your throughout your masters. So yeah, so as there are 13 courses really. This is the course structure.
Okay. And people can also take the thesis option too.
Yes. Yeah, they usually take if yeah, if you're interested in research, etc., then people can take thesis option. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So moving on to the opportunities, like you
Mhm.
don't need because you are having a job. So the people like
Yeah.
international students, those who are coming.
Mm.
So what are the job opportunities? What are the internship opportunities? We will come to the job opportunities later. Like during the
So
course, can
SDS,
they take internship? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So if you're coming in F1 visa or as an international student, as far as I know, I think you have to wait for your CPT to start your internships. But to get an
Okay.
internship, I think they organize a lot of career fairs, etc.
Oh.
Um, like career fairs, yeah. But mostly, other than the career fairs, the success people generally apply online or they have
Yeah.
to move to some other state or some other country, because San Diego is still a small town, small city compared to San Jose, San Francisco, etc. So usually people apply online and move to other states or do their on internship somewhere else remotely. Uh, yeah, that's. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, I got it. And do you have any funding opportunities, like any type of scholarships or any other types of funding opportunities?
Yeah, I have heard of scholarships, but from my circle or from what I haven't researched much about the scholarship or funding. Um, but there are some scholarship options available. But I think you have to be extraordinary. I mean, you have to do a lot of research. You have to work in the labs. You have to be academically very good, extremely good to avail those scholarships. Not everybody gets those scholarship. You have to stand apart. We have to be above the bar to avail those scholarship. From my circle and people who started with me, I'm not sure if most any of them. I haven't heard of most of them who got scholarship or used the scholarship. Very one or two people avail the scholarship who are very extremely into research and were doing super well in their academics, etc.
Okay, that's great. So, can you tell about the
Mhm.
living expenses? And what you are right now living with your family, right? And now the students
Mhm.
that are coming from outside. So, what
Yeah,
the
yeah.
overall expense if he or she stays in an off-campus housing?
Yeah. So California is an expensive state, and San Diego is actually very expensive state in
Yes.
California, place in California itself. So students who come as an international student, they usually
Yeah.
stay very close to the college. So they don't have to commute, etc. Because so usually they stay very close to the university, and I think there are some apartments which mostly are rented by the students. The students come and rent here. So the average rent here, if you share a room, etc., per
Yeah.
person, the rent alone could be somewhere around. If you're sharing a room with 4 or 5
Yeah.
people, I mean,
Mm.
like a house, if you're sharing with 4 or 5 people, could be somewhere around 500, and plus you'll have utilities to pay, like electricity, water, etc. So I think it would be safe to say the expenses will be somewhere around $700 to $1,000 per month.
Okay. And again, it's
Mm.
California, so it will be expensive.
It is expensive, and also it depends on how you're living and how you're sharing
Yes.
the room. If you're sharing one room with multiple people or you're sharing a house, so it all depends. But on an average, from my research, this is what it looks like.
Okay. So now let me ask you about the things like when and if one student comes when an international student comes into play, he or she gets an OPT or STEM extension. So is it applicable for H4 EAD visa holders?
No, H4 visa holders don't go through CPT or OPT because you're already here as a non-immigrant in a non-immigrant visa. Sorry, an immigrant visa. So we have
Yeah.
something called as EAD, work permit, and you can that is tied to the so H4 is a dependent visa, and we are dependent on the primary H1 applicant. So
Yeah.
when the H1 applicant's green card application gets approved, which is called as 140, then the
Yeah.
H4 applicant is eligible for the EAD. So you can apply for EAD. Once you get your EAD, you're free to work in this country. You can do any work. So that's the only a checkpoint for the H4 people. There is no CPT, OPT, H1 lottery you have to go through. So we just have to wait for your EAD if you don't have one, or if you have an EAD, you can work while you're studying itself, which is what I am doing. So in short,
Okay.
no, we don't have to go through OPT or CPT.
Okay. If you would have
Mhm.
an H4 visa and you would have enrolled into an MS program, then your H4 visa would have been turned into F1 visa, right?
No, I can still study in H4 visa.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't have to convert it to, yeah. So right now I'm in H4 visa. I can study in H4 visa and work.
Okay.
So I don't have, unless if you don't have EAD or if you don't foresee getting a work permit before you graduate, then I know some people who are on H4 visa, who apply for F1 visa or go out of the country and get their F1 visa and then study in F1 visa. But it's not mandatory to get your F1 visa. It's totally up to you and depends on your visa situation. So I will be graduating in H4 visa only, and I'll still continue to work with my EAD.
Okay. So you will have a fresh start of your H4 once again, or no? You will get those extension of 3 years and 3 years once again.
For H4 visas do expire 3 year every 3 years for the first 6 years, and after that it will expire every year. So and so is the EAD. It's tied to your visa. So like my EAD will expire every year, and I have to apply for renewal 6 months before it's expiring. I have to apply for renewal. Yeah, so it keeps on renewing every year.
Okay. Now, so it's a bit complicated, and once again, it's a bit easy. Both.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Okay.
But I think
And it's
once you get into
yeah. Please
No, I
continue.
think once you get into the process, I think it'll
Yeah.
all make sense and you'll be comfortable with this. Uh,
Okay.
it's not that complicated. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
Yes. Once again, but if I take an F1 student, then he or she has to face so many things like OPT, then OPT extension, then H1B lottery process,
Yeah.
and all those things.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So you started your masters during 2019, right?
2019. Yes, 2019 fall.
Okay. So how was your experience during the time of COVID?
It was very bad. So actually, I had traveled to India in
Yeah.
January,
Mhm.
and I couldn't come back because of
Oh,
the flight delays, etc.
yeah.
So I couldn't do, so I had to take that semester break. I was on leave of absence for, so I started in 2019 fall, and then I traveled to India, and in the spring I was in India. I couldn't come back, I couldn't travel back, so I was stuck in India. So I took leave of absence for that semester. I could only travel back in June. That's when the flight started to resume in June 2020. So I couldn't do that spring semester. So I took a break in that spring semester. So that's one advantage in H4 visa. You can take
Mhm.
leave of absence. You can take a break of a semester or two. So I took that
Wow.
semester break, and then and then I came back here in mid June, and then I started again. I resumed again in the fall, 2020 fall. So
Okay.
but even during 2020 fall, we were still in COVID. We were still in peak COVID.
Yeah.
That semester it was fully online. The exams and everything was totally online. And for the MSIS students, usually we have a lot of group projects and presentation.
Yeah.
They focus big time on this presentation and group projects, teamworks, etc. That was all very different because we had to communicate
Yes.
through Zoom. All the exams were very different. We had to give the exams online, classes were online, and if you had any questions with your professor, you have to schedule a meeting and then join the meeting and get the questions clarified, etc. So it was very different. But then towards the end of the semester, we all got very comfortable with that. The online classes got very comfortable. But one thing that we missed was the career fair, because when we had in-person classes, they
Mhm.
organized a lot of career fairs. Although I don't say it helped much, but we had good opportunities to go meet the employers in person and network, etc. But then during the COVID, they did virtual career fair. To me personally, I didn't feel it gave good networking opportunities, etc. So that was one drawback that I felt. But other than that, it was still good. In fact, next semester I have to go back to school, and I already miss online classes. So yeah. So
So
yeah.
this semester you are doing your online classes till now.
Yeah, no, this summer I'm on summer break, so I don't have classes now.
Okay. That's
In August I have to go back to school.
Okay, so your college is going to open at August.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
in August, end of August.
oh, that's really nice. So,
Yeah.
can you give us just a basic overview of how to study H4 visa in US? And so if anybody is in the H4 status, then how he or she should start.
Yeah, so the application process is very same. You have to write your GRE, you have to write your TOEFL, and then apply, get your transcripts in, apply to the university, wait for decision, etc. And then once you have, yeah, once you get an admit from a university, you can make decision and you can get in. It's all very same. Everything is very similar to an F1 student, but we just have some advantages. Like you can do your course part time. You can take one semester, one course a semester, or two courses a semester, or you can take that semester break and then you can work. So if you're on an F1 visa, to work outside the university, you have to wait for your CPT. But
Yeah.
once you have your H4 visa and plus say you have an EAD, then you can work anywhere and then study part time. So those are all the advantages. But other than that, it is very similar to what other students go through. Just and then if you have stayed in that state for a long time, you also get this additional perk of in-state tuition fee. So that's another advantage that you get. But other than that, everything still stays the same. The experience
Oh,
is very
that's good
similar
to hear.
to students. Yeah.
Uh, So, can you say that is there any kind of a visa interview or anything during the time of H4 visa when you are in H4 visa,
Mm.
or no?
Yeah. No,
You don't have.
no visa interview. So you have to go through the visa interview to get your H4 visa. But once
Okay,
you are in an H4 visa and are in the country, then you don't have to go through an other visa interview process unless you want to switch to F1 visa. But if you still want to continue in H4 visa, you don't have to go out of the country or get another visa stamping or something like that.
okay, okay. So,
Yeah.
when you started off thinking that when you started thinking that I want to do my MS,
Mm.
so can you tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So I moved here in 2016, and at that
Yeah.
time I did not have my EAD. So I
Mm,
couldn't work for, yeah. So I was waiting for my EAD for around 6 or 7 months. And before moving to the US, I was in network and security.
mm,
And when I applied for the jobs in that domain, like computer networking and security, most of them were asking for security clearance, which you get only to US citizens. Mostly US citizens have the security clearance. Yeah. So I wasn't seeing much luck in that domain job. And then I switched my career and then I worked for a year as a marketing analyst in a small startup. So it was a small startup, and the work was good, and I really liked this business, this business analyst, data analysis, all those jobs, etc.
yeah.
But since I switched from networking, and this was all new to me, I was not well versed with the language like SQL or the BI tools. I wasn't that comfortable with that. So I wanted to study that further, the same line, the analytics line itself. I wanted to get myself very comfortable with that. And since I was working with a startup, I wanted to have some better career prospects. So masters was one way which was answering both my problems at that time. So and SDSU was very close to where I live. So I thought it's better to go get a master's degree.
That's really inspiring. So, do you have any tips for coming students or those who are in H4 visa or just normal students who wants to do their masters in US?
One thing that I wish I knew before I started was to have good experience. But if you're starting as a fresher without any work experience or something, then doing a lot of projects. So when I started to look for jobs, uh, most of them, although it was an internship position or an entry level role, they still look for experience, or if you have done any really interesting projects, etc. And turns out there are a lot of opportunities for you online to do a lot of projects related to your career track. So there's data camp, and then you can do your project and post it in GitHub. You can take any additional courses that is not in your in your curriculum in Udemy or some other online places. So being in constant in touch with real world will give a better job search experience. Otherwise, so most of the interviews in the job search process, they want you to be more experienced, on have some hands-on experience on the real world analytical problem that you'll have. That was one thing. And the second thing was going out and networking. Talking to people and networking. A lot of people, and I spoke to my seniors, and they were all iterating really on the networking, but I did not know the importance until I started the job search process. So once you come here and then casually start networking and build your connections, etc., it'll be a huge help by the time you start looking for your jobs. That's
Okay.
all. I wish I would have. I think if I had known this before I started the masters, it would have
Yeah,
helped better. Yeah.
that's really great. And how was your overall experience?
Overall experience, the masters, you
Well,
think?
while starting, yeah, while studying your masters in HDSU.
It was very good. I really liked it. I liked the in-person class. The class structure was very different to what we have in India. Having all my education from India, it was very different. And the professors are very approachable. And they really encourage, if you really like something and you're working, doing some projects, if you have any questions, the professors are really approachable. So that was very good experience. The experience-wise, it was very good. But other than the doing your academics and being good in your curriculum, for a job, if the job search is your ultimate goal, then side by side, parallelly, I think you also have to start the networking process and doing other projects, external projects, etc. Overall, it was good. So far, it is very good.
Wow, that's nice. So with this question, we are going to end this podcast here. And thanks a lot, Akshaya, for helping us out in making this podcast. And a lot of people actually ask that how to do your masters while you are in your H4. So this will be a really good help.
Thank
And
you.
can we mention your LinkedIn link in our description
Yes,
so
of
that
course.
anyone can reach you out?
Sure, sure. Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot. And if you have anything to say, then you can say us.
Thanks a lot for having me. I still not finished my master's, but you still chose me to ask me questions. Uh, I hope.
No, your profile was really interesting, and
Thank you.
I just saw this for the first time that somebody is doing her masters in H4 EAD.
Oh,
So it was really interesting, and I
thanks.
thought that it is a new topic.
Oh,
So
yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So thanks for considering me. I hope I answered all your questions. Uh, yeah.
yes,
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks
thanks a
for
lot.
having me.
Thanks a lot.